Hello everybody, welcome back. It is August 1st, 2025. You're listening to episode 213 of Midnight Film Society. I'm your host, Damian Sherman. Joining me today, as always, is...
Derick Duff.
On today's show, we got a double Pedro Pascal. He's Stretchy McDaddy, aka Reed Richards, in Matt Shakman's Fantastic Four. He's also broody mayor of a small New Mexico town in Aster's Eddington. But before that, we'll get into some movie and TV news, go over what we've been watching, and finish up with our Letterboxd shuffle right into the show, Midnight Film Society at gmail.com. Midnight Film Pod on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Subscribe on Pocket Cast, YouTube Podcast, Spotify. Rate and review it on Apple Podcasts. Tell a friend, family member, or stranger. What's up, man? How are we doing?
Doing well. Still a little tired from Comic-Con.
Yeah.
But I am having to go back into the workforce and the podcast force, but I'm good. Nice.
So tell me a little overview. I went last year and it was a great time. Met a bunch of people. Just tell me, how was it compared to last year?
Yeah, it was similar to last year. More the same, hanging out with cool people and having a good time. Seeing I don't spend too much time on the floor, but they have some really cool stuff on the floor. Lego made a replica of Comic-Con with Lego, right down to Robert Downey Jr. getting revealed as Dr. Doom. And I spend most of the time though checking out panels. There was some very cool panels I got to check out on the last day. Of course, there was the George Lucas panel talking about his Museum of Narrative Art that he was opening up. So it was him and Guillermo del Toro talking about art. So that was very cool to check out. There was a 40th anniversary Studio Ghibli panel as well that I really dug. A ton of really cool stuff.
Nice. Yeah, you are. I think last year I went to a lot of panels and also did a lot of floor stuff. I'm definitely, I would say if I was to sort of rate the things you can do at Comic-Con, I would say just the floor stuff, just seeing what you can buy. I love tchotchkes. I love little doodads. I love collecting stuff. So definitely I would say the floor. I probably spent more time on the floor and would if I was going to go again, probably do the floor stuff more so than the panels. But panels would probably come second. I love hearing about people's process. I love, potentially being able to ask a question, be able to interact with those people, meeting folks too, just in the panels, post panels, while waiting in line for the panels, making line buddies during the lineups to those panels. Being in that room, just being in Hall H last year was incredible. Just the overall feel of it is pretty amazing. And then on top of that, you get to be in one of the biggest metropolitan areas in the country, San Diego. It's huge, it's massive. I think food's really good. Arthur Geese is somebody he works for Wirecutter. He's a very smart guy when it comes to technology and stuff like that. And he's from the Bay Area, so he recommended a few places to go for very good burritos, which is something this Bay Area is known for, correct?
Yes, that's not the Bay Area though, by the way. The Bay Area is San Francisco.
Gotcha.
But yes, there is very, very good burritos and Mexican food here in Southern California. And yeah, San Diego is the closest city to Mexico, right there, the other side of the border from Tijuana. And
nice.
It was great seeing you experience good food and culture. I loved to see that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, East Coast has food and culture, but not specifically where I am. The Berkshires is like, we'll do some stuff. We'll do some decent Chinese food. I think decent Thai food here, decent Chinese food, decent Japanese food, trying to some of the transplants from New York City and Boston and places like that. They'll come here and sort of set up shop. One shop here in Northampton actually got on one of the list of best burritos in the country called Bueno Isano. That's in Northampton. So we have our places.
Who's writing that list that Northampton is getting on this top burritos? It should just be like 9 places in California and maybe 1 place in Texas.
Exactly. I think it was probably one of those like Travel Channel shows of like diners, drive-ins, and dives, and what's his name probably stopped by there.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, dude, this is
we
great.
gotta mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. But yes, yeah, good. We have some culture here, but yes, you're right. You're in the mecca of food culture
Yeah,
and
yeah,
other culture down there. Yep,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was
So a lot of good stuff.
yeah.
That was
Any
Comic Con.
yeah. You want to talk about your panel for minutes because you had a panel again this year. What was it? What was it about? And how did it go?
Yeah, thank you. It was so I had, yeah, you said another panel this year. It was called "The Hidden Value of a Director's Cut." So I talked about obviously why what director's cuts and why we like them, why we can need them, what's good about them, a little bit what's not great about them. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a really great group of panelists there, and that discussion is going to be out on Monday on as a bonus episode of Underrated for audio, and then on Spotify on video, and then also on YouTube on video. But yeah, we kind of break down the best director's cuts, the reasoning for them, and not just director's cuts, but really any alternate cut of a film. So we go into fan cuts and like editors and other people taking over, and then weird obscure stuff. Like I bring up at one point the Steven Soderbergh black and white Raiders of the Lost Ark with the Social Network score. So it was a lot of fun.
Nice, very cool. Any other panels you went to that you want to shout out?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned the Ghibli one. I think that one was really cool. Leonard, I got to see Leonard Maltin talk for a little while, and I got to take a picture with him afterwards.
Yeah, I saw
So
that.
obviously he's a, yeah, so he's a film critic and a legend in his own right. Wanted to shout out my buddy Karosha's panel. He had a panel called "I'm This Way," and it's this game's fault. That my friend Thomas was also on, along with a lot of other great guests. So that one was really great. That was kind of a sort of spin-off of his podcast that I've been on called Save Point Stories. Yeah, there was another one on gaming that I met some cool contacts, and like there was somebody on that one that I was really big fan of. I wish I could remember off the top of my head what that panel was called, but it was about like getting into game design. So yeah, there was some really good stuff this year.
Nice, nice. So yeah, dude, let's get into the new. We'll get to the news later, but some of the broader stuff about the MCU have written down here. So Kevin Feige, speaking of Marvel, speaking of the news out of Comic-Con. This wasn't coming out of Comic-Con. This came out. Let's see, when was this released? July 20th. It's a little while ago. Says the title is Marvel plans to recast the X-Men and eventually Tony Stark after Avengers Secret Wars, but quote, reboot is a scary word, says Kevin Feige. So it's basically him going into a little bit of the planning of the next couple of years, which they have done. Traditionally, Feige and his hat and his he'll have this giant timeline of like, here, 2027, 2030, here's what's coming out. And traditionally those things they've stuck to those things quite a bit. I think if you actually go back and look at what they were planning, even before Endgame, a lot of that stuff never came to fruition. So a lot of the sort of negativity around, hey, what's going on with Blade, what's going on with a lot of this stuff, there was quite a few titles that you look back on like 2016, 2017 that were mentioned that never came to fruition. So, just
Really? Like
yeah.
what?
Well, I think there were some different. I think they were under different names. I think Captain America was like called Serpent Society. Like a lot of these movies did eventually come
No,
out.
that was a joke. That was a joke. I think
Was
I
it?
think really the only thing that never really came to pass because it ended up as a TV show was the what was it, the one with Anson Mount, because they announced it with
Yes,
Vin Diesel. What's it called? It's like not Eternals,
the
but
Inhumans.
Inhumans. I was like, yeah, that was
Yeah.
really the only one pre Endgame because they were kind of rolling,
Gotcha.
and then but yeah, once it was post Endgame, it was kind of like, ooh, there's some cracks starting to show in the armor.
So there's this again. They these things are in production, right? They mention them. They become in production, but things like Armor Wars has yet to be seen. Vision Quest and the Young Avengers has yet to be seen. Blade obviously yet to be seen. So there's a lot of
Yeah,
things.
those
That
are
are
all post Endgame. That's what I'm saying.
Sure, yeah. I'm pretty sure there was some stuff that's been put out there, and it's like, oh, okay, we'll actually going to roll that back, but I don't have it on top of my head right now. Let me see if I can.
Well, I think you are wrong. So sorry to debate you on that one, but
Yeah,
I think it's just the one thing, because that's my point though. Is like
yeah,
they were rolling along so well, and then they became. I think it was two things, right? It was that they announced way too much stuff, and especially with Disney Plus coming out, they were like, we're just gonna make everything. And and it was also just, they had been really lucky before Endgame. They had everything had gone off without a hitch, and then everything happens, like COVID and the writer's strike, and
yes, yeah.
Jonathan Majors getting canceled, all like that all kind of happens, and really just everything kind of happens, bad luck for them. So I think it was that's what it was, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. So he was just talking to Variety, saying, let's see, they're going to recast the mutants for the upcoming X-Men movie, which I love the joke is like, yeah, if you understand linear time, they have to be recast at some point. These guys are going to be doing it until they're very old, but eventually they have to be recast. He says, quote, we are utilizing that story not just to round out the stories we've been telling in the post-Endgame, just as importantly, you can look at the Secret Wars comics for where that takes you. It's a very, very much sets up for the future. Feige said, Endgame literally was about ending. Secret Wars is about the beginnings. He says he was careful not to categorize the changes as a reboot. Instead, the executive said Secret Wars will serve as a reset. He says, quote, reboot is a scary word. Reboot can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Reset, singular timeline. We're thinking about along those lines. So yeah, just it's not like specifically saying what projects are coming out and when. It's more of just a general, hey, we have a general framework of how the MCU is going to go forward. So.
Yeah, which is kind of what I've been saying. They probably have to do after Secret Wars, because it's become so big and unwieldy. And after Endgame, it was just like, okay, cool, that was the end. Where do we go from here? And like, okay, five and six, and I don't think they're at a certain point. It's like comics where it's like, oh, this is too much. You have to know too much. It's gonna be like not like Kevin said, probably not a hard reboot, but they are going to have to change it where it's like, okay, we're not just going to go into a 7, 8, and 9. We're going to be doing something different. There's going to be, I don't know what it's going to be exactly,
Yeah.
but I think it's going to be something where it's you don't have to watch 25 years of Marvel movies to understand what is happening in the new X-Men film.
Yeah, they were talking about this on the Fighting in the War Room podcast. Speaking of shows that are coming up on the list we're going to talk about, Matt Patches is one of the co-writers of the History of the MCU, co-written by Joanna Robinson and a third member, I forget his name, but he was asked by David Ehrlich, after this news came out, David Ehrlich asked Patches, what, is this sort of normal territory, the whole like, in terms of specifically Secret Wars not having a script and not having it ready and them filming sort of without a finished script, he was like, is that par for the course? And Patches said, yeah, kind of. They will go into production without a script. They obviously have reshoots built into the budget and built into the schedule of the shoots. So it has been a thing where they're sort of laying down the tracks as the train is going. That's been their modus operandi for a long time. It's just, I think, the worrisome part is that this is sort of a bridge. It's an ending and a beginning, right? Secret Wars is, so it's a little more trepidatious doing that style of filmmaking with such a massive film, I think.
Yeah, I think that all makes sense.
Yeah.
Once again, I think they're trying to build. It's weird that he said it's the beginning of something, not the end of something, because it does feel like they're kind of building towards like, okay, we're taking not just all the stuff in the MCU, but all the stuff that is outside the MCU, the X-Men universe. These other wayward characters that we saw in Deadpool and Wolverine from like the Dead Fox universes. Even like the Fantastic Four universe, which they're setting up, and it's going to be kind of like, all right, well, putting it into this, we're going to be starting something new in a new way. But yeah, so I guess it's a transition kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. But yeah, so there's that. Talking about Fighting the War Room, they were mentioned on the 100 greatest podcast of all time, according to Time magazine. They're on here. It's not a ranked list, so it's just sort of like, hey, here's 100 best podcasts. Just here it is.
Okay, just, yeah.
Just a list. Blank Check is on there. A lot of the Ringer shows. Bill Simmons is on there. Binge Mode, which is not a thing that is still ongoing. It was done by Melody Rubin and Jason Concepcion. They did. It's probably one of my favorite podcasts around. Not just because it's very much MCU based, but because they take the MCU films and they sort of condense all of the. They'll do one episode per movie, and so it'll be like an hour and a half, and they'll condense the references from the movie. They'll reference comic books, they'll reference the events of that movie. They reference how the last one came into this, how they're saying it for the next one. And I think it's a really good presentation of like, here's a really good, efficient and effective way of presenting the movie and presenting the story in an extremely compact and very well presented show. So I highly recommend people going back and checking out that. I think they did one for Game of Thrones and for Harry Potter as well, but I didn't listen to those. Anything on here that stands out to you, Derick, is sort of like, oh yeah, I listen to that one every week or almost every week?
Well, the one I know that made this list was Blank Check, which is a film podcast that I am a very big fan of. So was happy to see that. I just realized that I think you sent me the one from last week, so I have the wrong. I had two of them pulled up, so I was like, where is this?
Whoops.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries, but yeah, let me try and pull up the right one.
Is this the right one?
Here, I got it pulled up now.
Okay.
But yeah, Blank Check was one that I very much listened to. Let me now skim this list now that I do have it pulled up here. 30 for 30. That's another podcast that I listen to. It's obviously the podcast is a spin-off of the documentary film series. There's some really good stuff there, and I guess this is all alphabetical order. Big Picture I listen to.
It is.
Let's see. Just scrolling down the list. I'm listening to some Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. I'm a huge Conan fan. Let's see. What else do we have here? So, I mean, it's a lot of stuff that's like, the stuff you would expect to see on a best of, it's a lot of, as you would say, chalk picks. Like, what a, underrated. It's not making this list, unfortunately.
Where is it?
Right, I know. I'm scrolling. It's low in the alphabet, so there's still hope.
I will say.
Pablo Torre Finds Out is on the list. That's actually really cool. I'm a huge fan of Pablo Torre from Around the Horn. Rest in peace. And he is a really great investigative sports journalist, and so does some really good stuff there. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. The one thing that stands out is like there's a lot of shows on here that if you haven't heard them before, you can sort of like listen to them from beginning to end. Reply All was like a 4-year podcast that sort of had a beginning, middle, and end. A lot of limited run podcasts, I'll call them, like S-Town was a spinoff of Serial and This American Life. It's one of the best documentary podcasts I listened to about I forget, it was like a murder or somebody just died or somebody was just it was one of those like, oh my god, they had a hidden life I had no idea about, and people discovered it after they passed. WTF is obviously ending its run. You're Wrong About is probably one of the best shows out there about like, hey, this thing you've heard about. Like one of the best ones I listened to was about the Satanic Panic and about that whole era in general, about like the West Memphis 3 and about what is it called? Breaking the idea of like, hey, sugar's super bad for you, or like eggs are bad for you, or Jean-Benet Ramsey's case was this, or the thing they said about this person or this event or this thing, and they go like, here's the data at that time, and here's how the data was misinterpreted. So definitely, if you're one of those people that's like, I was told this about this person or this event, and I like to hear another angle on it, then definitely check out You're Wrong About. Yeah, that's a very good one. Dead Eyes is another one that sort of had a beginning, middle, and end. It is about Conor Radcliffe, who is a character actor and a comedian, stand-up guy, and a podcaster. And he was almost cast in Band of Brothers, but he was supposedly told that he didn't get cast because he had, quote, dead eyes. And so his entire show was about him finding people that were, production assistants and people that worked on the show at that time, and it ended with him talking to Tom Hanks, who was the guy, one of the showrunners or one of the executive producers of that show. So it's a very, very good beginning, middle, and end sort of show. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very good stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on here that's like, oh yeah, of course I've been meaning to listen to that, but yes. Just have not gotten around to it. And there's some stuff I've not heard of. I was like, there's a podcast just called The Tennis Podcast. I should maybe check that out. I like tennis,
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah,
that is
good stuff. Good stuff.
Good
maybe,
starting
maybe
point.
When they do the next one, we'll be on it.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Speaking of lists, speaking of top 100 lists, we have the top 100 movies of the 21st century, as selected by the New York Times. This came out quite a while ago now, about a month ago, but we'll still go over it. They again talk about chalk picks. This is a very chalky list. The thing that I would like to start talking about here with this is sort of recency bias of a lot of this stuff. It's a list of best movies of the 21st century. So at a certain point, you have to decide, where to cut it off. The number, which one was it? I know there was a very recent one.
It would be, you cut it off at the year 2000, Damian.
Sure. Yes, I understand. But last year, last week, when do you make that cut? Is what I'm saying. Is the part I was gesturing to.
I'm just being jackass.
Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think, is the highest ranked, newest release on here, if I'm correct, right? Number 13 for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Let's just start there. What do you think about that at number 13?
I mean, that's cool. I like that movie a lot. I feel like it's one of those movies that there's the inevitable cycle of where it comes out and then gets a lot of pushback. It's people really like it, and then it starts doing well, and then it wins Best Picture, and people are like, it wasn't even that good, So I felt like I went through that whole cycle. Yeah. But yeah, I quite enjoyed that film. You said that's at 13? I'm like, hold on, I'm looking at the list, and I'm not. See, okay, I don't know. I might be looking at a slightly different order than you because
on Reddit. Did I send you the Reddit list? Or?
Yeah, you sent me the Reddit list, but I looked it up on Letterboxd.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I do agree that is a very good movie, and yeah, it is always tough when it's like, okay, well, how much do we have to worry about recency bias? I don't think this one is suffering too much from recency bias. They're all going to be, the last 25 years. There's some good stuff on here. I'm really glad that Superbad made the cut at number 100. So that's, one of my, So this list, I don't know what this list that you sent me is wrong. I think, man, because I know for a fact Superbad was 100.
Yes. And, do you have a New York Times subscription? Because I sent you the list there.
I do not, but I think I think I have the accurate list in front of me here.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of a lot of these. I've, according to this Letterboxd list, have seen 66 of the 100. How many have you seen? Do you know? Or
yes,
I can send you the Letterboxd. Or you got it?
I have the Letterboxd pulled up. I've seen 90 out of 100. Yeah.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You've seen a lot more recent films than me, I guess, or at least a lot of the more recent, prestigious films.
Prestigious, more recent dude bro movies. A lot of dude bro.
There's a lot of dude bro on this list. Not a lot of women on this list.
That is unfortunate. Yeah, a lot of dude bro. If people don't know, dude bro essentially means like Inception. Things like what else is on here that's dude bro? Kind of Old Boy, I guess. It's just like, yeah, I've seen that movie. That's a Wolf of Wall Street, I think, epitomizes dude bro culture, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah, 100%.
Inglourious Basterds, I think, could be put in that list. Social Network definitely could be put in that list. So the ones I haven't seen, well, I have a couple here. 16 and 17 are Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Brokeback Mountain. I've seen bits and pieces of those over the years, but definitely couldn't say I've seen them in full. I have yet to see A Separation. I've yet to see A Prophet. Best in show. I've never really been a big Christopher Guest guy, so I have that to catch up on. I have Tony Erdmann to catch up on. More is a movie I have heard just like it's crushing. It's just a crushing movie about dementia. Melancholia is a movie I've seen bits and pieces. The other one is The Gleaners and I by Agnes Varda, and the last one I have yet to see in full is actually Grizzly Man. I think I've seen bits and pieces of that, but I couldn't say I've seen it in full. So, yeah, just a few more to see.
Oh, you must avert your eyes. Do not watch it completely.
Do not listen to it.
Never listen. Never watch this footage.
So yeah, that's a list. You know, it's not bad, it's not great, but yeah, it's good. It's good. Good again. Yeah, speaking of the 100 best podcasts of all time, it's a good starting place, right?
Yeah. You know, like this is some good. Like, hey, you're looking to get into film seriously? Maybe watch some of these. You know, and yeah, I like a list where they do include Superbad and Anchorman. That's always nice to see. You know, and then Mad Max Fury Road. You love to see stuff like that, and then. But then there's also some stuff like In the Mood for Love and some classics, or not classics as they're all new films, but some stuff that like little budding film major would probably like a lot. Really
good starting place. Yes. So yeah, just quickly, we talked a little about the Comic-Con and some of the news. The announcements are always a big thing. Like I went there for the panels and I went there for the Hall H to see previews and see what's going to be coming out that year. Comic-Con's always a big place for announcements. This year we had things like Peacemaker. Second season is coming out very, very soon, August 21st on HBO Max. Welcome to Derry is actually something I'm pretty interested in. I've been a big King head for a long time, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Anything on here that you are looking forward to, Derick?
The thing that I was most excited for, and I really wanted to see this panel, but I was staying with a friend and we ended up getting there too late and we missed it, was Coyote versus Acme, which is of course the formerly canceled but will be released film about like the Wile E. Coyote suing the Acme Corporation with John Cena. They had a panel at Comic-Con. I think Griffin Newman was in the Coyote costume. So I was really bummed that I got to miss missed that panel. So that's honestly the thing that I'm kind of most excited for.
Yes, that is pretty cool. It's one of those things where it's just like, if it wasn't canceled, it's like, you can't have this. And now you're like, well, I want it. Now I want it. Right. I wasn't looking forward to it before.
Exactly.
But now you're telling me I can't have it. Now I want it even more. So yeah, definitely excited for that. Alien Earth is something I'm super excited for.
Yeah. Noah Hawley.
Yes, Noah Hawley. Alien is a movie I've loved for a long time. It's a franchise I've loved for a long time. I'm a huge Prometheus head. I love Alien. What's the second one? Alien Covenant. Really love that movie as well. It just the stuff they're mixing in with the new characters. We're on Earth now. We've got different actors, Timothy Olyphant, Sidney Chandler, people that haven't been in it before. And like you said, Noah Hawley, loved so much of his stuff. Especially, he did Legion, correct?
Yes, he did. Legion fucking rules. So
it does roll.
Like, it's really interesting to see what he did with like X-Men characters that nobody cared about. So it'll be very cool to see what he does with the Alien franchise.
Exactly. It was my thoughts. Exactly. Yep. So definitely looking forward to a lot of that stuff. So yeah, it was a good overall, announcements, right? Speaking to the Comic-Con 2025, great year for announcements. Yes. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, nice. All right, so with that, let's get to some what we've been watching. Do you want to start with the big one and go backwards, or you want to start with smaller ones and go to the? Let's
start with smaller ones and work our way up.
Okay, so Derick, tell me about The Bear. This is a show that I've enjoyed very much through the past. I'm getting to that point where I'm like, I need a right time to dive into this thing because it is so tumultuous and so energetic and so in your face and a lot of yelling. So I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any of the fourth season yet, but you finished the entire thing, correct?
I did. Yeah. So obviously, like you mentioned, first 3 seasons are all about kind of, they're all very stressful. They're all very high octane, just kind of like, like things are bad, things are happening, and people freaking out and, dealing with anxiety and all that stuff. And last season, I was, even though some people weren't a fan of, I was definitely a fan of. And it felt like it was really building to something where it was like, okay, like what are the causes of this anxiety in these people's lives? And this season honestly kind of felt like, okay, well, you've identified these causes of your anxiety, you're doing your best to kind of move on, and we are kind of getting better and healing and moving on. It felt like a very healing season where things are still high pressure and stressful, but it's like, yeah, but like, there is a other side, like there is a way to kind of deal with these things and get over them and to heal healthily and to be a good communicator with the people around you that you love and stuff like that. And like, there's always the, like, they're usually half an hour episodes, and then you see like the 1 hour episode and it's like craziness and 1,000 guest stars, and it ends with Jamie Lee Curtis driving through the wall or whatever. And so when I see like an hour runtime on an episode, I was just like, oh man, am I in for a whole thing? And it was surprisingly it was surprisingly not as stressful. It's still, it's still the bear, so they're still like, okay, what are you doing? But it was like, all right, this is okay. We are kind of dealing with this anxiety. So I really liked where this season went.
Nice. Yeah, definitely will be checking it out at some point. It's what was I going to say? It's a very stressful show. It's about, and it's just interesting. Not to disagree at all, but I will occasionally deal with people in my life that are perfectionists, and it's, I work at a food co-op, so it's just like, we're not making anything spectacular here. We're not making 4-star Michelin star stuff, and people are still like, well, it's got to be this way. And it's like, why does it have to be that way? If you can just verbalize and help me understand why is it got to be specifically like this? And it's just, I think it's very much about that too, of like obsession, about being a perfectionist, and it's also like, just, I want it this way because I want it this way. I think it's a lot of people's way of interacting with the world and putting their mark on the world is just, at a certain point you just got to say, okay, you want it this way, fine, we'll do it that way, and just try to stop butting heads for that reason. So definitely, I've seen Evan Boss Macrack in a thing we'll talk about later, and so I'm definitely excited to see him and back in this. I've heard, I think, what are they doing with the 5th season? I heard it was renewed for a 5th season, but I also heard this is going to be the last one. Have you heard exactly what's going on there?
I think that, I just heard the same thing. I think it's that they renewed it for one final season, which makes sense because it feels like it is definitely, season 4 feels like it's working towards something wrapping up.
Yeah, that's always interesting to me. I would love to pick the brain of the showrunner for this show, because I think early on it was something similar to, I think, didn't Lost, or I know a lot of shows have this predicament where the showrunner, the writer will be like, hey, I got a beginning, middle, and an end, and then network would be like, that's cool, make more. It's like, no, I don't want to. So I feel like that's probably a similar thing going on here, where he's trying to stretch it out a little bit. I think that was very much felt in the 3rd season, so it'd be definitely interesting to see if the 5th season is something that feels like it's all been working up to, or it feels like something he had artificially created to extend it out to a 5th season that he had no intention of doing.
Yeah, I wonder what the initial plan was. Was it like they were going to go 3 seasons, or were they like we were going to go 5? Because like I said with Lost, that was from an era when they just kind of like made shows and they just ran as long as they could. And Lindelof and Hughes were like, hey, we need to have an ending to this thing. Can we have 3 seasons? They were like, no, maybe we'll give you 10. And like, okay, how about? And then they ended up settling on 6. So once they actually settle on a definitive end date, I think the show really starts, even more than it was, hitting its stride. And I was thinking of things like Prison Break, which I think was supposed to be 2 seasons, and they extended that a bunch because it's like, okay, but it's like, well, you got out of prison at the end of season 1. Like, how do you keep this going for 5 more seasons? So, but I think that I like the way that the pacing, especially of this last season for The Bear.
Nice. You checked out F1 trademark copyright, the Cole in the movie. Did you see this in IMAX?
I did not. It's not playing in IMAX anymore. It's been its spot has been taken by Fantastic Four First Steps, so it's not going to be. It's not playing in IMAX anymore.
Gotcha.
Or really any premium theaters, because it's been out for a minute now, and Superman, Jurassic World, and Fantastic Four are all out. So there's no screens left for F1, the movie. But yeah, so I just saw it on a regular screen.
Gotcha. Now, I had this experience with what was it, The Brutalist, where I saw it on regular screen. I was like, oh man, I really wish I'd seen this on a bigger screen. Did you go into this thinking, yeah, I definitely should have seen this on a bigger screen? Would have enhanced my viewing experience quite a bit.
Not really. Like, it was still a pretty big screen. I was just like, I just don't want to watch this when it drops on Apple. I want to make sure I watch it in the
Yeah,
movie theater. So I'm glad that I
gotcha.
did.
Yeah, nice. What'd you think of it?
I didn't think it was very good, honestly. I thought it was pretty long and ponderous, and I was just like, and I get that, because I have a friend who's very, very into F1, and I get that like tires is your whole thing, but I was like, oh my god, they're changing tires again. Like that was, I was thinking about, obviously a very different film stylistically, but it's also about racing with Speed Racer and how
Mm,
every race in that movie feels distinct, whereas this is like every race feels exactly the same. It's like, oh,
yeah,
Brad Pitt and his friend are racing, and they're still going, they're still racing, and they got to make a change, and what they're gonna tap a guy, and it was and I think it might have worked if it was shorter. It
yeah,
wouldn't have felt so repetitive, but it was very that movie. It's like 2.5 hours long, and it did not need to be.
right.
Um, and it was fine. I don't I like Brad Pitt typically, but I didn't as an actor, not as a person. He's not a great guy.
Right.
But like I was just kind of like, all right, I get it. You're like this over the hill guy, but you've come back for one last. It was, there's some really cool stuff in it. Some really amazing shots by Joseph Kosinski, who obviously was the director of Top Gun, Maverick. But yeah, I was just not that impressed by the characters or the storyline or anything like that. One thing though that I will shout out is Hans Zimmer really goes for it on the score of this movie. The score of this movie fucking rules, as Hans Zimmer scores always do, but this one is a standout for me. But yeah, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either.
All right, that's disappointing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was disappointing.
yeah. All right, I might check this out in the theaters, or probably just wait for it to come on VOD.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, next up we have Oh Hi. This is a movie I was going back and forth between seeing this and another film, but I decided on the other one. So at least we got a nice diverse set of movies here this week. This is a movie written by, story by Sophie Brooks, starring Molly Gordon. Logan Lerman is a guy I always like to see his name pop up every once in a while. New on the scene, new hotness. Geraldine Viswanathan, who was in, I believe, Thunderbolts, right? Yes.
Yeah, she was in
Yes.
Thunderbolts. She was in the Coen brother or the Coen movie last year.
Oh, that's
I
right.
guess we're
Yeah.
knocking off all my movies first before we get to you.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
I've seen things you haven't seen. So, yes. So
okay,
we
yeah,
can,
yeah.
yes. Yeah.
But yeah, Ojai, this is another one that was kind of disappointing. I didn't really know the premise going in. So I will spoil that for anybody. It's, it starts as this kind of, it seems like this traditional rom-com, like, oh, Logan Lerman and her are like, they're like, oh, casually dating, they're hooking up, they're having this romantic thing, and then it turns into like this thing where like she basically, like, after this, oh, they have some kinky sex and he gets handcuffed to the bed, and then they get in a big fight about whether they're in a relationship or not, and then she just leaves him to the bed handcuffed all day. And so then it becomes like, oh, like, you basically kidnapped me. And it's like this kind of, it's still a comedy, but it's this whole thing of like, you know but what do we do with this guy that I handcuffed to the bed? Can we we have to let him go, obviously, but is he, if we do, he'll like go to the cops, or like, what do we do? So she brings in her friend, and there's some really good back and forth banter, and it's pretty funny, but ultimately it feels very icky. It feels like, oh, ha ha ha, like kidnapping, ha, so cute, like
Yeah.
there's some of that I didn't really love. I was like, oh, like, give me like Passenger vibes a little bit, the Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence movie. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
as icky as that, but it's very much like all right, like, this is not, and it's like, oh, what a clever commentary on modern dating. I'm like, it's really not. Like, it feels very much like it's thinks it's smarter than it is. But all of the actors in it are very good. There's some really good interplay between all of them. I did laugh a lot, but I just, the kind of core, it's one of those movies you're like, how are you gonna wrap this up in a way that's satisfying?
Yeah.
And I did not think it was.
That's disappointing. So
Yeah.
it's sort of like a more tame, like Gerald's Game.
I
Right.
mean, there's elements of that, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's interesting to see these. Again, talk about movies that don't get made anymore. This is definitely one that's like, all right, this is an original script and it's an interesting idea, but didn't quite land all its ideas. Yeah.
There's a great David Cross cameo in it, I will say, as a weird
Nice.
neighbor.
All right. Yeah, this is probably one of those. It's probably going to be streaming on Hulu in like 4 weeks. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. All right, so yeah, for me, I got a couple here. Eddington, the big other Pedro Pascal release of the summer. This is obviously Aster's fourth directorial feature after Hereditary, Midsommar, and Beau was Afraid. Hereditary is probably, a lot of people consider it up there as one of the most iconic horror movies of at least the last 10, 15 years. Midsommar as well. Beau was Afraid got a release and was put out in theaters and was a movie that people saw.
Yeah. It was something. It was a trip.
It was literally a trip. So this is much more grounded. This is much more, obviously based on today, based on, takes place during COVID, takes place in a very small town called Eddington, New Mexico. Stars Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Luke Grimes, Austin Butler, and Emma Stone. Man, this is fucking nuts. I just saw this last night. It's 2 hours, 25 minutes, and it really feels it. And not in like this, the length ruins it. It overstays. It's not in a, it overstays welcome in any way, but it's just one of those like you're transported into that time, and that like if you're on TikTok, if you're somebody like me who's brain rotted completely, and I am just on top of every shitty moment and event and phrase and person out there, the new shithead, the new Marjorie Taylor Greene, and all of the shitheads that tumble out of the vat of shittery. I am on top of already. So there's nothing in here that I haven't seen before. It has nothing here that I haven't heard before. There's no lines. There's no slang. There's no phrase, there's no protest, there's no point of view that I haven't been exposed to 100 million times in the past 5 years. So I think in that way I was a little inoculated against a lot of the sort of shock value, I guess, that Ari Aster sort of meant to evoke using these images and these tones and these phrases and these images. So in that way it sort of bounced off me, because I was just looking, I was then able to sort of weed through all the bullshittery and sort of look at it as a story and as a movie and all that stuff. And I think on that front, it definitely works. I think there are really interesting moments where Ari Aster, he's talked about this movie being a Western. I think there are some very, very interestingly contrasted and presented imagery of like the sheriff and the mayor walking towards each other in a store, in a convenience store, in the same way that you might have seen, Jimmy Stewart back in the day walking down the main street in a small town in the 1950s. And you have the music, and you have the, they're not wearing, what are those called? The little spinny wheels in the back of their boots. I forget what they're called.
Oh, spurs.
Spur. Yeah, they're not wearing spurs.
Spinny wheels on the back of their boots.
Spinny wheels, but it's they're just wearing modern day stuff, and they have their cell phones. So the cell phones are the new gun. You've probably seen the commercial where Joaquin Phoenix walks out of the sheriff's office going, "I am recording for my protection." So obviously trying to be like the cell phone is the new pistol in 2025. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I think people will probably that aren't brain rotted like me will probably go into this being like, what, it's overblown, or it's like using all this stuff. There's nobody really talks like that. Yeah, unfortunately, people do, and I think a lot of complaints, and not really complaint, but observation is like, well, it's both sidesy, because you're not really coming down and you're demonizing them both. And it's like, yeah, you should, because there's so many fucking weird ass right wing people. There's some weird ass left wing people. There's some weird ass middle of the road moderate libertarian people. There's some fucking weird ass people on a lot of the spectrum, the political spectrum. There's Emma Stone plays one of those people who is just chronically online, like I am. Again, I'm not leaving myself out of this discussion or this crazy fucking weird time we're living in. I'm chronically online just as much as Emma Stone's character is in this, and so she's this. I think she gets a little short shrift here, which I was kind of disappointed in that she's very much the somebody who was assaulted, years ago and hasn't really recovered from it, and is just sort of this background, humming in the background person who just can't take herself out of the depression she's in because of the assault. So I feel like she got a little short shrift there and sort of made to be this sort of this what do you call it? Like not prism, but sort of the lens at which a lot of these characters are pushing themselves through. Of like, there's Austin Butler plays a online not Presbyterian, like evangelical, like but not Christian. Like, hey, I'm just this guy and I'm saying words. Jesus is gonna help. Blah 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 blah. That sort of things. Yeah. So he just takes her. He takes her away. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna help you. Blah blah blah. It's Pedro Pascal and Joaquin Phoenix are the central characters in this, and they're trying to make Pedro Pascal, he's the mayor, and try to make him sort of like the guy who's like, everybody's got to wear their mask, and this thing is infectious, and he's trying to be the voice of reason in this. And I think Ari Aster does a good job of showing him in private being a different person than he is in the public. Yeah. So overall, I've been going on for a while, but overall, it's a very, very, very interesting movie. I'd love to pick your brain about it and see what you think of it, because it's very much not like, hey, here's what happened in the pandemic, here's what happened in 2020 in a small town in America, and I'm going to do a weird version of it. I'm going to make it so fantastical that you don't even recognize it. And the way that Beau Was Afraid was so fantastical. This is very, very grounded, and people are saying things that you've heard before. But yeah, I think it's very interesting to put that in a sort of Western milieu.
Yeah. This is. I was like debating last night if I was like going to see F1 or this one, and I almost went and saw this one, but I ended up seeing F1 because I wasn't sure how much longer it was going to be playing, but also I'm not sure how much longer this is going to be playing. Yeah. So I definitely need to check this one out. Sounds very interesting. Obviously, we're in the summer of Pedro Pascal right now, so I'm curious to see that. Also, I like Ari Aster a lot, especially Midsummer, but I've liked all of his movies, even Beau Was Afraid, which is fucking weird as shit, but I still really liked it. So definitely going to try and check this one out soon.
Yes. One last thing before the big one. I saw a little indie movie called Sorry Baby, written and directed by Ava Victor. I think this is one of the first things she's written and directed and really starred in. It also stars Naomi Aki, who was in Master of None, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. She's been in many, many things. Also stars Lucas Hedges, been in many things as well. This is just a small little intimate story about a woman who was assaulted and the ways that she sort of is processing that stuff. Yeah, it's just a really and she's very the way she processes it is through the thing that a lot of people do, which is using humor and jokes to try to
right.
Yeah, process it. And she's it's not funny the thing that happened to her, but the things she's saying, it's also a movie about like the ridiculous way that we sort of, a lot of people that she's talking to are like the school administrator, because she was a adjunct professor and the professor assaulted her. So, but then he leaves before, this isn't a lot of spoilers, just the thing that happens in the movie. He leaves, and then so she has to go to the administrators, and the administrators are like, well, he left, so we can't really do anything about it, and we're sorry, but we believe you, and we're women. We know we know it was in the trailer, so they're like, we know what you're going through. We're women. And they just... Oh,
yeah, I've seen this trailer. Okay, I know what this movie is now.
Yeah, so it has that sort of weird, awkward humor to it. Works really well. I really, really liked it. And again, if you check it out, I'd like to pick your brain about it and actually have some specific thoughts about it. But yeah, I definitely recommend checking this out. I believe it's still in limited theaters right now. And we're back talking about Fantastic Four. First Steps, directed by Mr. Matt Shakman, who we first came on the scene with what was it?
WandaVision.
The WandaVision. Yes. Let me see. Well, he's been working for a while. Holy shit! I thought he was a young guy. How old? Oh, he's 49. Huh. Put up his IMDb. Did Judging Amy. Did a bunch of TV shows back in the mid 2000s. Huh, did not know he's been around for that long. Anyways, directed by Matt Shakman, screenplay by Josh Friedman and Eric Pearson, starring Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Evan Moss-Bacharach, Joseph Quinn, Julia Gardner, Sarah Niles, Mark Gatiss, Natasha Lyonne, Paul Walker Hauser, Ralph Ineson. Well, I guess we'll just say spoilers for this movie since I talked about Natasha Lyonne being in it. I don't know if that's is that a spoiler?
I don't know. I didn't know she was in it. I was kind of like, oh, it was like one of those moments you're like, I didn't know you were in this, and I'm very happy. Like, I was like, she just comes out and she's like, hey, how's it going? Hey, Ben, it's the thing. How you? I gotta check it out. Hey, yeah.
Your impression of Natasha Lyonne sounds like what's his name from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? The Danny DeVito. There's an episode where DeVito plays the trash man, and then his whole thing is like, I'm the trash man. My whole thing is I come out here and I throw trash around. I'm the trash man. That's amazing. So yeah, this is the third film the MCU or Marvel's put out this year. Let me see how many is this? I should say in the 37th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, second reboot of the Fantastic Four film franchise. Derick, tell me overall, what did you think of Fantastic Four: First Steps?
I really liked this movie. I thought it was, very. I love the whole retro futuristic thing where it's very much like the aesthetic is like Disneyland, Tomorrowland, I should say, in Disneyland, in like when it first opened up, and they're like, come see the world of tomorrow, like that whole World's Fair thing that they were doing with like the flying cars and the like, tomorrow, today, like, and the Future Foundation is here, and like all the like weirdness that comes in with that was so cool and unique. I loved the cast of this. For some reason, it was really hard for them to get a Fantastic Four movie right before this. There was 3/4, depending on how you count the unreleased version, attempts that were all not good. But this one was a lot of fun. I like the dynamic and their interplay between all of these guys. I think everyone in it was really good. I like the plot of it. I did obviously talk about this at length on my show Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones, but I talked about how refreshing it was that there wasn't a big sky beam at the end.
Yes.
Like they weren't like trying to do something like that. And it was just like about protecting a baby, to save the planet, and how they all have this weird wacky plans, and this plan went awry, so now we have this plan and this plan went awry, and it's like, we'll teleport our planet to another solar system, and there's like interstellar stuff in here, and there's a lot of throwbacks to like old like sci-fi from the 70s, like Black Hole and all that stuff. So yeah, I was a really big fan of this. I also talked about how I really like the Human Torch in this. Well, how he's like, sure, he's still like a guy who likes girls, but like he has more of a personality than is horny and on fire. Like he's also like, I like space and can figure out alien languages and have this whole like really interesting dynamic with the Silver Surfer, who I thought was really, really cool too. And so yeah, just overall, really a big fan of this movie.
Very cool. Yeah, this week I saw a superhero movie which forego its origin story, which involved a black hole, and which the superheroes were disparaged by the public for a time before regaining their trust. But enough about Superman. Okay. Boom goes the dynamite. No? Okay, that was good. That was off the top of the dome.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
That's what I was like thinking. I was like, oh yeah, there was a black hole in Superman. I guess that's true.
There was a black hole. Anyways, yes, I love this movie, and that means, Derick, we finally beat the streak of me hating a Marvel movie and then loving the next one.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, what do you know? We did it, guys. We did it.
Marvel's back, baby.
Good Marvel movies in a row.
What is going on?
Wow.
What is happening?
Wow.
Dogs and cats living together. It's chaos. It's crazy. Yes, I love this movie. It's fucking incredible. I loved it from the beginning. They have Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby have incredible chemistry together, and make that normal family thing of him rummaging through the cabinets looking for something, and her in the toilet being like, "Give me 12 seconds." He's like, "What do you mean? That's a very specific time period. What is that about?" Yeah, I loved Evan Moss-Backrack as the Thing, and yeah, Joseph Quinn. It's incredible seeing him like coming pretty quickly, fairly quickly, I want to say, from Stranger Things, playing Eddie Munson, playing a completely different character here. It's really great to see this guy take off from that role, which wasn't too long ago. Julia Garner is incredible in this, doing it's one of those roles that's very hard to pull off right, because it's this very stoic, very emotionless person, and I think it's got to be really, really hard, not just to pull off a character like that, but then to pull off a character like that who's in all this CGI, and you have to be saying this really sort of Shakespearean type dialogue. So I really want to give big ups to her. Similar thing with Ralph Ineson, like two characters, the surfer and Galactus, being these two larger than life in many ways characters that are just there's not a lot of physical motion. They're very stoic. They're saying these very stilted lines, but yeah, I think they pulled it off really well. I love the moment where they're in the, again, spoilers for this whole movie right now, they are in his ship, and the scale of it. I think they did a really good job showing the scale of Galactus with them, tiny little people, and seeing him light up, his eyes light up, and like, holy shit, that guy's massive.
Right. Yeah.
Really good, and it's very Kirby-esque. I think a lot of the stuff, yes. Obviously Kirby was a Marvel guy, but I feel like going back to Superman again, very, very comic booky. He's like, hey guys, imagine that you make a movie that's based on a comic book, and you embraced all of the comic bookiness of the movie, and this did it as well with them, especially the sequence where they're escaping from Galactus' ship. It was so comic booky, with Silver Surfer surfing on the lava and then surfing on the stardust and all of that stuff. It was really, really incredible. The black hole thing you mentioned, was the whole sequence was really, really amazing. Vanessa Kirby, again, in a movie where she's playing a woman giving birth, referencing the pieces of a woman from like 2021. That whole scene of her giving birth in front of the black hole was pretty incredible. Yeah, I love this movie. So yeah, I guess we can talk specifics here. What was there, like one specific set piece, one specific like thing you want to talk about this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I liked a lot. There's so much of it that I like.
Yes.
I really like the finale where they're like trying to like, how do we get Galactus to this place? That was really good. I like the black hole set piece a lot. It felt like a lot of they're being smart. They're figuring out plans. They're coming up with, because these are smart characters, right?
Yeah.
So and I like that. And there's not one specific set piece or anything, but one thing I love about this movie is that it feels like you can go into this movie having never seen anything Marvel before. And I talked about my hope for this going in, that it would be like what the Edgar Wright Ant-Man wanted to be, where it is set in this like other, thing where it's like, now that they are kind of opening this up to the multiverse, they are allowing, to tell these other weird stories that they wouldn't be able to really tell, because you'd have to find a way to fit. Like, if they had gone traditionally, or this had come out before Endgame, they'd have to find a way to fit the Fantastic Four into the continuity, the reality that we knew. But instead, this can be just like, it's this whole other weird-ass world that is, like you said, very Kirby-inspired. It feels very much like a comic book, but like those old 60s, 50s comic books that Jack Kirby was writing, where it's just like bizarre and weird, and there's like a whole subterranean mole man like society going on down there. And obviously, the end of the film has a like little in memoriam for Jack Kirby, and even the universe they live in is a reference to Jack Kirby's birthday, 828, I think it was. But yeah, I think to answer your original question, I think maybe my favorite set piece was that giving birth scene, which is set against like a black hole, and they're trying to like whip around it and do the like, we've got to like slingshot back into like the time warp or whatever. Like, I thought that was so cool, and it gave me definitely Interstellar vibes and like like old school sci-fi vibes.
Yeah, it gave me that stuff as well, but definitely Incredibles vibe. Incredibles is clearly based off the Fantastic Four, so yeah, I like that they gave some of the people something to do. I feel like Vanessa Kirby's character, Sue Storm, got a little short shrift there, and Thing got a little short shrift. They give Pedro Pascal and Joseph Quinn kind of the big two things to do, which is I do like that they sort of used Johnny Storm's thing about women and being like, let's take that thing and think how he is in love with what's her name, Shia LaBeouf, that's the Silver Surfer's name, how he's like in love with her, so he learns her language, and how they do this thing where they're like, everyone is going to come together and save electricity, so we can build these bridges and transport the Earth somewhere else. And then it completely falls apart as soon as Silver Surfer comes down. She blows up all the bridges except for the one, and Johnny Storm's figured out her language and says, "Hey, you helped destroy all these worlds, so I'm going to play back all this footage I found and sort of traumatize you with that stuff." And yeah, I like that they gave him like a cool, like it was one of those things where they always put into a movie in the background where somebody's working on something, and the plan A falls apart, and like, oh shit, what are they going to do now? Then boom, actually, remember that thing we told you about, half an hour ago? Yes. It's finally come to fruition. I like that a lot.
Yeah. That was really well done.
Yeah. Some other parts of this movie. What? Oh, just the whole last. So a little bit of nitpicking here for me, which was just I don't know. I feel like the CGI of the last sort of set piece where they're fighting Galactus, where not the main fight where they're pushing him around. That was really well done. I liked the scale. Again, speaking of the scale, they made you feel like these guys were very tiny people. He's huge, especially the part where Reed is going up into Galactus and opening up those valves in the back of him and dumping out all the fuel or whatever. That was really cool. And then him stretching him, he's like, oh my God, he's going to die. What's going to happen? And then Thing and Johnny Storm comes back in and hits him in the head. They fall down. They're down out. Reed is down. I think Sue Storm got like in a car accident, so she's down. And they're like, oh my God, what's going to happen now? So what happened then? I forget. So they're all knocked out. What happened then? Because he's looking for the kid, right? And he's going towards the building, and he grabs the kid. And then does that when Sue starts pushing him back towards the transporter?
I think so. Yeah. And then Johnny comes in and swoops in, or is it Johnny? Like, because I remember he was about to push him into the thing.
So
sacrifice himself.
The thing I was going to say about that is, she's pushing him. It looks amazing. You're like, oh my God, I can tell that like. She's pushing him, and then you can tell she's probably going to die from that. Like, oh no. And so that part where he's backing up into the transporter looks fine. But the part that I had an issue with, which I don't know why, like they must have run out of money or something. But here's the thing I had a problem with, where she's dying and they bring the kid in, and the kid's just like completely CGI like toddler. It's like you couldn't just
that baby was a little rough at points. I was like, this is like it's not quite Twilight New Moon level baby, but it's
it's a little rough.
Not good either.
It was just weird that you made the big thing, the big ambitious thing look great, but you couldn't make the toddler look like a toddler, which was very strange for me.
It's the uncanny valley thing, because it's like we don't know what a gigantic spaceman made of metal looks like, but we know what a baby looks like,
Correct. I was trying to think there was something else I was like, Well, I mean, I think it slows down a bit too much for me when they're going to space. I think they treat that lead up to them leaving Earth to go to Galactus. For some reason, they treated it as like, this is the first space launch ever, because there was a lot of lead up to that. Them getting into the special, them strapping in, them building the new. I like the new suit part of it. That was pretty cool. Of Johnny being like, hey, I would like a new suit, please, and Reed's like, I got bigger things. I got bigger fish to fry. But yeah, I just feel like that movie slowed way down too much of them leading up to the space launch, which I felt like, okay, you already did a space launch. You established they already did a first space launch in this world. We've seen space launches before. It just seemed weird to me that they kind of slowed down to get onto the nuance of that. So that was a little tripped up on a little bit of that. There's something else too. I don't know. It was just one of those like, you're making Galactus, like the one of the top villains of them, and also the top villains of Marvel in general, just seem kind of a literal pushover. So that I scraped a little bit on that. But any picadillos, any nitpicks for you for this movie?
I mean, not really. Like I generally just I was just like this is just a really fun, wacky, zany superhero film. You know, like it was fun to see Paul Walter Hauser crop up as the Mole Man, and
Yeah.
he was really just having the time of his life. And I so yeah, I don't say I don't think really I have any huge complaints. Other than I guess I was. I would have liked to have seen what like because they hint at Doom a little bit, and apparently in that post credit scene, it is
Yeah.
actually the back of Robert Downey Jr.'s head. I'm
Okay.
kind of like, well, what? It was felt like the thing. I was like, oh, okay, so they couldn't get him on set or whatever. Like they didn't want him to. It felt like the end of Shazam where they can't get Henry Cavill, so they just have Superman's chest. But apparently, it really was him. So I was like,
Okay.
that's weird. Like, what's happening? And it's not a complaint so much with this one, but as in like, well, we know from the Thunderbolts post credit scene that they are coming to, and just because obviously that's the way movies work, that they're going to be coming to the main MCU. So I kept wondering, when is that going to happen? Like, are they going to escape? Like, are they going to have to escape Galactus, and that's where they're leaving? Is he going to eat the planet, and like that's where it's going to go? And they never really touch on that, and that's not necessarily a complaint about that movie. I like that this movie stands on its own, but it was more of a thing like, okay, well, why was that in Thunderbolts? What's going to happen with that? Like, it
Yeah.
would make sense if that Thunderbolts came out after this, and it's like, oh wow, the Fantastic Four, who we just saw, are now coming to this universe. But the fact that they did it in the reverse order is a little weird.
It is weird, and I guess that is something I was going to mention about the movie, which is I liked that it didn't connect it to the larger MCU. Actually, I'm always the guy here that's like, hey, more of that. But if you're going to, it's one of those. It's a phrase called min-maxing. If you've heard of that, where it's like if you're playing a paladin or you're playing a
Oh, I play D&D, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
if you're going to one thing, go all the way for it. This movie is going all the way into not just a separate timeline or a separate time period, but a separate timeline. And so I like that they went fully into nothing here is connected to anything we've seen before, and I like that a lot. But yes, speaking to the post-credit scene and where it's leading, I don't know, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that how it's going to lead into Secret Wars and how it's going to connect to I forget the actual naming convention of MCU Prime. I think it's not 616. That's the comic books.
I think it is kind of like, and that's a whole like there's a whole
Yeah.
debate between Kevin Feige and what's her name who plays Miss Marvel. But like I still like to call it 616 because I'm like, the comics are a different thing. These are movies. I can call it 616.
Yeah. So just in summation, I like the end credit scene. Speaking to just the scene itself, very good scene, and I do wonder how that's going to transpire. I am a little trepidatious just in the fact that Franklin Richards is somebody. I'm not a huge comic book guy, but I know Franklin Richards in the comics is one of the most powerful beings in the comics. Like he is cosmic level dude, can transform realities, can build universes at his whim. So I'm a little worried that other than a handful of the MCU characters that we established so far, not a lot of the people that we know of are going to be able to have much sway in what's coming forward. But I am, again, very excited to see how they're going to handle all of that.
Yeah, me too. Like, and they obviously hint at a lot of that stuff in this movie where Galactus is like, I'm a being that's older than the universe, 14 billion years old, and I would very much like to pass my power off to you because you're this whole other powerful being. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting. What's going to happen with that?
Yeah, we've seen. Just to finish up, we've seen very powerful characters in the MCU before, and I think they handled them pretty well. But that was, I mean, like with the Infinity War, you have that whole fight scene with, a lot of characters with widely varying power levels, and I think that fight scene on Titan with Thanos is one of the best action set pieces in the MCU overall. So I think there is a definitely very good possibility that they can pull this off again.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to see what they do with that because they're clearly setting him up for something.
Yes, exactly. So right into Midnight Film Pod at gmail.com. Let us know if you agree or disagree with their takes for that and any other of the movies. Let's get on to our Letterboxd assignments. I did watch my assignment again. Speaking of streaks, we got a streak going here of me actually watching my Letterboxd assignment. My Letterboxd assignment last week was Return to Seoul. Let me see. I had it pulled up here in a second. So this is a 2022 French/South Korean movie directed by David Chow, starring Park Ji-min. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. There's another South Korean director that does a lot of slow cinema called Hong Sang-soo. So it felt very much like that. Let me pull up some of my notes. Let me actually do the synopsis. It's about a 25-year-old French adoptee who travels to South Korea seeking her biological parents. It's much more. There's so much more to it. It's quite a long movie, so I won't get into a lot of the specifics. But the general themes are like her trying on identities. Like she's young in the beginning. The movie takes place over, I think, 12 or 13 years. So beginning of the movie, she's like she's in her early 20s. She's partying a lot. But she does establish early on that she wants to find her parents. So it's very much about her living this dual life. She grew up in France. She speaks French. So she doesn't speak any Korean. So she feels, out of place in Korea, visiting there to try to find her parents early on. She meets an arms dealer, which is strange. She like I don't know if she's a call girl or whatever, but it's a lot of her identities, a lot of her time here, and a lot of what she's doing isn't spelled out completely, which I like a lot. But she tries on all these different roles, sort of like it reminded me a lot of Worst Person in the World, where you have this over time. She's with different men. She had different jobs. She's in school. She's trying all these different careers and aspirations and all of this stuff. So it reminded me a lot of that. So if you liked Worst Person in the World, I would definitely recommend checking out Returns to Seoul.
Okay, I'll have to check this one out. Interested in this one. I'm a fan of Worst Person in the World, so I'm gonna give this one a watch.
Nice. Your assignment was Sullivan's Travels. You check this one out?
I did not get to this one. I actually sat down to watch it last night after watching F1, and then I was like, let me see where this is streaming. And then it was like, it's streaming nowhere. And I was like, well, as much as I support,
yes,
paying creators and buying movies and stuff like that, I was like, I'm not. These people are all dead. I'm not going to spend $4 for this movie. So I'm going to go to the library at some point next week.
Yeah, I think that falls under the category of what's it called when a thing's like in the public domain. Should probably be.
Yeah, I'm like, it's so close to the public domain. I was like, this has got to be at some point. If Mickey Mouse hadn't pulled it back so many times, I'd be able to watch it already.
Right. Let me just see quickly what Sullivan. So it was not on anything you said? Sullivan's.
Nope, not streaming anywhere.
Oh my God, that's crazy. 1941. Yeah, that's like almost a century ago now. Crazy. All right, let me go to my watch list and I'll hit shuffle. Didn't really. I took a bunch of stuff off, added a couple things. So excited to see what we get, and we get Witness for the Prosecution. Directed by Billy Wilder, one of the big directors of the 40s and 50s.
Billy Wilder. Love Billy Wilder.
Yes, so I'll be checking that out for next time, starring Tyrone Power, Marlene Dietrich, and Charles Laughton. Nice. Classic.
Very cool. Should I do one, or should I just stick with the Sullivan's Travels, or should I double up?
Yeah, if you want to double up, you can do that. Witness. Right, so yeah, if you want to shuffle and double to what you get.
All right, pulling up my watch list and hit shuffle. Boom. And I got Rashomon. Ooh, all right. Nice. Akira Kurosawa, one of the all-time great movies. Yep. Okay, all right. And this one is streaming in some places, so I'll be able to watch this. Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
It's also on HBO Max. So interesting. Yeah, and Canopy too. So yeah.
There you go. Nice. Yeah, I saw. Speaking of Kurosawa, I saw a preview for Heist to Lowest, Spike Lee's remake of.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. All right, so that's for next time. Also for next time, we got August 1st, this Friday, The Naked Gun, remake of the classic 80s stand-up movies, directed by Lonely Island alum Akiva Schaffer, starring Liam Neeson, Pamela Anderson, and speaking of Paul Walter Hauser is in the new Naked Gun movie. So I'll be checking that out.
Excited for this one.
Yeah, I am too. Again, speaking of movies they don't make anymore. Definitely excited for a nice big studio comedy. Next up, we have the Bad Guys 2, which I enjoyed. I remember enjoying very much in, I believe it was 2022. That's the first one came out. Yep, March 2022.
Yeah, The Bad Guys. That was a
Yeah,
fun movie. Sam
was.
Rockwell.
Yeah. So see how that is. Week after that, August 8th, we finally have Weapons.
My birthday.
Nice. Happy early birthday. Weapons, directed by Zach Kreger. Of course, Barbarian, did Barbarian in 2022. We have this movie stars Josh Brolin, again, Julia Gardner coming back. Carrie Christopher, somebody named Carrie Christopher, and Alden Ehrenreich. Great name. Benedict Wong, Amy Madigan.
Do you know Alden Ehrenreich? He's Han Solo.
I do know him, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The guy, was he was the guy in Hail Caesar. What did it wear? What did it wear so simple?
Yes. Yeah, and he was just in Ironheart. He had a really fun role in that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I still gotta check that one out. And finally, we got Freakier Friday. Another, I'm not, I was about to call it slop, but I'll give it a shot. It'll probably be fine. Freakier Friday, sequel to Freaky Friday. All right, so plug-in time. Let's do a little plug-in. Medium, blog, Substack, all that stuff. Damian.Sherman.medium.com. Go to my Letterboxd, Midnight Film Pod, almost pretty close to 2,200 followers. Go to my Film Essayist on YouTube. Check out all my essays, film essays on there. Spotify to make a podcast. Go to my interviews. Anthony Glygos, Connor Kilpatrick, Josh Flanagan. We talked on their show about Day Tripper, one of my favorite graphic novels from back then. We got The iFanboy, Ringer, Letterboxd, Blank Check, Hey Riddle Riddle. I'm active on all the Discords as Conan the Barbusian. So if you see Conan the Barbusian commenting on stuff, that'll be me. Derick, what you got to plug?
Yeah, check out Underrated Movie Podcast. However you're listening to this, it is on all of the podcast apps and on YouTube. As I mentioned, just had a panel that I was on at Comic-Con. That's how that will be available in just a couple days, so make sure you stay tuned to check that out. I'm also in the middle of doing a retrospective on all of the films of Laika, which started out on my Patreon, but that is a bonus episode on the main feed talking about Coraline, and then the next 4 are all going to be underrated episodes. I just, of course, did Paranorman, so next up is going to be the Box Trolls. So if you're a fan of Laika and animation, stay tuned for that stuff.
Nice, very cool. I'll check that out there. And for Midnight Film Podcast, I've been Damian.
I've been Derick.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.